community's greatest strength isn't necessarily in the plan that they build, but it's in the people. And it's in, the vision is here, but the people are the ones that are executing the vision, and they're the ones who are feeling it. They're the ones who are living it, and they're the ones who are understanding it. So the plan is just the tool that kind of unleashes everything else. Politics are involved in stuff.
Yeah.
You don't want to come to the strategic planning table and think that I need to score points. This is about people. Yeah. Building community is about people. And that's what it should always be about. And I think just being really open and honest about where your organization is and what's realistic and what you can get done. And I think part of that is having a strong administration to be able to say, like, hey, in order to get that done in our community, we're going to need X, Y, and Z.
Welcome to Strategy and Culture Conversations, a podcast that explores the role of strategy, culture, and transformation in building thriving organizations. I'm your host, Trina McCarroll, and I'm glad that you've joined us today as part of our communities of courageous leaders from across Alberta. In each show, we'll share our success stories and lessons learned as we create thriving, high-performing organizations and shape the future of work in our province. Let's dig in. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Strategy and Culture Conversations. I'm Trina McCarroll, a facilitator focused on strategic planning, culture building, and transformation. We're delighted to have with us Catherine McCook, a City Councillor with the City of Beaumont and also mayoral candidate for the upcoming municipal election. Thank you so much for being with us, Catherine, and feel free to introduce yourself.
Hello, and thank you so much for having me. I'm always so excited to have these kinds of conversations, so it's great to be here. My name's Catherine McCook. I am, as you said, current City Councillor. It's my first term with Beaumont, and I am now making the jump to run for mayor this upcoming election in October, which I'm really excited about. Previously to this, my background was in criminal justice, my education background, and I've done work in corporate, in loss prevention and security, and also human services long time ago. And then recently I realized that my calling was really in the coaching area. So I went back and I got some more education in leadership and performance coaching, and I opened my own business, the Elan Project, which is really focused on leadership coaching and creating work environments where people can thrive, and doing some socioeconomic consulting. So
hey, fantastic.
I'm excited to be here.
That's awesome. Thanks so much. I've really enjoyed getting to know you the last few years, that we certainly both really aligned on our leadership approaches, where we know, and the research shows, and then we know from our practices that you can have really strong, positive leadership and also get good business results. And so how do we make that work, whether it's a private business or a nonprofit, and then also in the municipal setting for local government, and just how important that is to have that perspective that we can really have strong leadership and strong results and have that human-centric approach at work. So really delighted that our paths crossed and excited to dig into some strategic planning nuances with you.
Yes.
And so, as we've talked a bit before, that municipal strategic planning is an important component, especially after councils are elected and council is ready to set its strategic direction for the municipality, particularly over its next term for the next 4 years, but also even longer into the horizon for the vision and the future for the community. So I'd love if you want to share a few things that you've really found that you enjoyed, or really important parts of strategic planning at the council level following an election.
Yeah, I think especially as new councillors, it really helps you set that direction and get a good idea as to where you want to go. And it helps keep council focused as well. I think sometimes council can, we're all individually elected, and we have different ideas, and different people elect us for different reasons. And so I think having the strategic plan helps us have that core. And it's really also the bridge between the community ideas and what they want to see happen in the community, and then also the daily realities with what communities and administrations are facing.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And I really like how you said that each individual councillor and mayor is elected, and they do a lot of door knocking, a lot of community engagement. And they each come with their own priorities and what they want to see the community look like. And then the magic and maybe the tricky part of it all is combining it to be a collective vision and a common, coherent one for the whole group.
Yeah, I think sometimes you end up reacting more to things rather than shaping the future. Mm-hmm. So I think that's important as well.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's certainly often many municipalities, many municipal councils will have, say, an offsite retreat for a few days where they really try to debate and wrestle with ideas and priorities and grand visions and trying to see what's practical and possible. Do you have anything that you recall that you really, enjoyed or would really memorable about, say, an offsite retreat for strategic planning from your last round?
I'd probably say there was one of the things we used was the parking lot. So, we had ideas that we could execute on and that administration said, yes, this is possible. And then we had our parking lot where it was, okay, these are great ideas and these are things that the community wants to see and that we would like to move forward, but let's park them here for now and then see how or if they fit into the strategic plan.
Yes.
So I found that was really helpful to still not completely disregard them, but to have them there. And then at the end, when we had all of our information out, all of our ideas out, then we were able to revisit the parking lot and determine what was worth bringing in and what we're able to do as well. So I think sometimes that disconnect too is there's what we want and also what's achievable in the next, 3 to 4 years.
Yes. Yeah, that's a great point to make. And that often councils and municipalities can have hundreds of good ideas and good priorities that council wants to, seek after and implement for the community. But it's that prioritization and those trade-offs that you want to make about what do we have the resources to deliver on? What do we have capacity to do? What's most crucial? So that's a great strategy to use during the retreat. Yeah, that's excellent. Excellent. On the flip side, do you have anything that you might say, you like to avoid in strategic planning or things that you would suggest for other councils to not do during strategic planning?
Yeah, I think laundry lists, having too many priorities, and that goes back to what we just talked about and what you mentioned. I think that's a big one.
Right.
Because then it kind of dilutes the plan and you it doesn't make it very clear as to what direction you're going in. And then I think sometimes that can complicate things for administration as well. Also, sometimes too much jargon. Residents don't always connect with the buzzwords and stuff, right? Like people want something very clear, something they can relate to, something they can understand that, okay, this is what we're moving towards.
Yes. Yeah, that's a very good point. One of my favorite municipal communicators who works in municipal communications, she told me, you can't put the word strategic in front of everything. Yeah. Because the public, A, doesn't want to hear that, and B, it just makes, too much jargon. So that's a really good point. Yeah, exactly.
There was a joke in ours too. One of the councillors joked and said, okay, we have to stop using the word innovative. I don't want anyone to use the word innovative. We need to try something different.
Yes.
So,
exactly.
I think finding that out. And I think that's sometimes too where that human-centric leadership shows up. That's what I believe, at least. You know, we have to look back and we have to make sure that we're not just checking boxes just to check boxes. We need to make sure that the community feels that their values and their voices are also embedded throughout the plan.
That's, so many good points to make there. Certainly, I've seen cases throughout my career of just getting this done because we're supposed to have a plan, a strategic plan. Let's just get this done. But no one's really invested in the decisions and no one's planning to use this as a really guiding force. So it's just something to get done. So I'm glad you mentioned that. That's really a big, things to avoid in strategic planning. And then your second point about the voices of your citizens and the voices of your staff as well, the ones who are going to be implementing the plan, capturing the sentiment that they're seeking and in accessible language and plain language that everyone can understand. There's no need for buzzwords and jargon and trying to sound fancy. We want to get real good work done together. We're not trying to prove who can sound the fanciest in a plan.
And I think that's where it's important to really kind of partner with your administration as well, because in strategic plans, as we talked about earlier, like they will also guide some of those trade-offs. And there are some trade-offs because not every city can do absolutely everything that everyone wants to see. And so I think that has to be guided through your strategic plan as well. And that's where also once the strategic plan's done, some of those important check-ins are really important.
That's right. Yes. Yeah, exactly. I've really liked in the past few strategic plans that I've been doing with municipalities. Sometimes there's organizational values of, how we work together, the behavior that we expect from one another. Of course, we want council to abide by that as well, right? The respectful debate and really putting the citizens at the heart of decision making. So certainly organizational behavioral values. But then I've also seen some really great success in the work that I've been doing lately is around some decision-making lenses or criteria. There's some different terms for it that really how are we going to make our decisions? And both in the criteria that we're going to use and then the group effort of how we interact with one another during those debates, during those discussions, especially we're going to all disagree. And so I really have seen a lot of success taking the time during strategic planning to set your council up for here's how we're going to do decision making together and here's how we're going to try to balance some of those trade-offs. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's a great point. And that's definitely something that is important through the strategic planning process.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, in my term, we had a by-election partway through. So 2 councillors stepped down. And then 2 councillors were elected. So unfortunately for them, they weren't part of that strategic planning process. And so they kind of had to come in and, I guess get on board and understand the way that the ship was moving. And so that can be challenging as well.
For sure. Yeah, exactly. And trying to establish team and cohesion in terms of here's our priorities and here's how we're going to achieve them.
Yeah. And I think we did a pretty good job. It's, we, like I said, we're all elected often for different reasons, but I also think that's also what makes local government great.
Yes. Isn't that true? For sure. So once you have a strategic plan in place, you have some priorities documented, councils agreed to them, administrations had some input. How do you really like to see as a council demonstrated progress over the term, over your term?
I think it should be demonstrated through a variety of avenues. I think personally in the leadership that I believe in human-centric leadership, it's not just measured through KPIs. I think it's measured also through whether people actually feel the difference in their day-to-day lives. Are they seeing the change happening? And I think sometimes that's the challenge with government and how slow government moves. You can be making some really good progress, but people haven't officially seen that change or progress yet, because sometimes these things take time and are slower. And so I think with those, I think that part, it's important to then use your KPIs, and those KPIs should become storytelling. And so you can kind of start to tell the stories with data. Numbers matter. How do you connect them to resident outcomes and meaningful progress that's been made?
So true. So true. Often municipalities and many levels of government are working on long-term well-being outcomes. There isn't a change tomorrow or next week, but it's outcomes that are being worked towards. And so then there's a balance of also showing progress with some activity reporting and the key performance indicators of what have we got done, what is the progress so far, even though we don't know the full impact and outcome yet.
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely. I think an example for ours is we put health in our strategic plan, and traditionally, like health and doctors and stuff like that, doesn't necessarily fall under municipal government, that's provincial government, but we were hearing it so much from our residents that we felt we have to have something that we're working towards more than just what the province is doing, because It's so important to our residents, and it's something we're hearing about so often. So it was tricky to find that balance between, okay, this is what we're going to work towards. However, this is still not necessarily our role. And we've made progress on it. And that's one of the things where it's, things take time. We made progress. We did a health needs assessment in our community where, we were able to determine exactly what are the needs in our community as far as healthcare goes. Then we were able to, move that forward in talks with the provincial government. And then we were able to move forward with a business plan and business case with Covenant Health. So we don't have any facilities or anything yet, but that's one of those things where we're moving it forward. And we put in some grants to hopefully attract and retain doctors as well. So different things like that.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So I'm hearing lots of activity reporting and in terms of showing that progress and the efforts that are being made. And then that's on the way to the long-term outcome of improving health and health services in the community.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then really responding to local concerns and needs that your citizens have demonstrated, and making sure that council and administration and the city contributes in whatever way it can, in whatever, avenue it can. Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. Excellent. Really glad to hear that. I'd love to chat with you also in terms of you and I both have talked about where strategy is really influenced by culture, and that strategy, you're setting these goals, you're setting this direction for the organization. How are you going to be the best community and the best organization that you can be? And it's through culture that the strategy is implemented. And so we've talked a lot about the importance of leadership during strategic planning and then also during implementation. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on the role of leadership, perhaps at the start, developing strategy, and then implementing strategy. What are some of your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it depends who it's coming from as well. I think if you're looking on an administrative side, I think a lot of their leadership and strategy is to also be kind of the realistic voice in the room. To say, this is what we can actually implement and what's realistic for us. And then I think throughout as well is keeping council focused sometimes, because we have the tendency sometimes to, and I mentioned that earlier, be reactive to certain things happening, and that can pull you away from your strategic plan quite a bit. And so you need strong leaders, whether that's strong councillors, whether it's mayor, whether it's administration, to kind of pull us back and say, okay, we can react to some of these things, but this is going to take away from this work that we've been doing on the strategic plan and the strategic direction that we're driving towards.
Yes.
So I think some of that reality piece. I also think strategic planning, we should be considering well-being. And that's, I think, where the human-centric piece comes in and where it's important.
Yeah.
It shouldn't just be all about economic outputs, but social and cultural ones as well. And if we do place an importance on that in our strategic plan, then you will start to see that kind of reverberated throughout your community as well.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And trying to have that balanced perspective in terms of the different pillars that a municipality needs, from the economic side, obviously, in terms of economic well-being, and also contributing to the rest of social and cultural well-being throughout the community and throughout the organization as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think you want to write your plans in a way that also enable everyone involved. So your staff, your residents, if there's any partners in the plan, your council, to see them as in the plan and then as part of solutions throughout the plan as well.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Their contribution and how they can help advance the priorities. Yeah. One of the big components that I work on with councils during the development of strategic plans is building trust between themselves and with administration as well, is because, you can have fancy goals and you can have fancy plans, but it's coming down to often the relationship and the trust to implement those. And especially none of the things that are in council strategic plans are easy. And so there's going to be some bumps along the way. There's going to be some trade-offs like we talked about. Any thoughts on building that trust either upfront or over the duration of a strategic plan?
Yeah, I think, you need to do both. I think you need to constantly I think sometimes people think that like we build trust and then we can just walk away. I think it's important to know that it's an ongoing process. And then if something doesn't follow through or happen exactly as we had intended, then that's sometimes where trust begins to get broken. And the other piece is communication. I know that's something that we all talk about often, but I think I can't bang the drum enough to say that I don't know that we can over communicate sometimes. I think when, especially when politics are involved and stuff, you don't want to come to the strategic planning table and think that I need to score points. This is about people. Yeah. Building community is about people. And that's what it should always be about. And I think just being really open and honest about where your organization is and what's realistic and what you can get done. And I think part of that is having a strong administration to be able to say like, hey, in order to get that done in our community, we're going to need X, Y, and Z. Right. Because we're just not there. Instead of having an administration who might say, yes, okay, that's what council wants, but then we can't deliver. Yeah. And then that doesn't help anyone.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. A bit of that, like, forthright honesty in terms of assessment of being able to share the brutal truth sometimes with one another in a respectful way of here's where we're at, either for our organization or for our community. And if you want to make something really big and bold possible, here's maybe how we could do it. And maybe the resources that we would need and the culture change that we would need, like all of that. But certainly having that trust between council and administration to have that, dialogue back and forth of, none of this is easy work, but how could we make it work together?
And I think it's that constant dialogue, right? When council finds out something that they maybe weren't told or they weren't informed of, sometimes automatically it's administration isn't helping us out. And I think sometimes it's intentions as well. And I think that goes back to what you had said earlier with setting some of those intentions ahead of time, is knowing that a lot of the people that work in our communities are passionate. They're passionate about community. They're passionate about seeing progress in community. And so it's kind of pulling down some of those walls and saying, hey, we're all here for the same reason.
Yes.
We all want to build this community to be a thriving community.
Yeah.
How are we going to do that? And how are we going to do that together?
Yeah. And then really coming with that respectful intention and really, that mindset of one team. And also, because we all want the best for our community, we have high standards and expectations for the work that we deliver, the priorities that we're setting. We want to do exceptional work. And so how can we do that together? I think that's a really good mindset and, intention to bring to the conversations.
Yeah. And we might have different roads we want to take to be able to get to certain places, but that's where that respectful conversation comes in. Let's hear the ideas. Let's hear about how you want to get there.
Yes.
And let's see what we can come up with.
Yeah. And certainly there's going to be some debate and some difficult conversations in that of how you get to that consensus. And consensus is not necessarily pretty and it's not easy. But then, of course, as you know, operating as one council after a decision has been made of how can we all support this? How can we all get behind this and really have that one voice and that one enthusiasm for the direction that you're going?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we could talk about strategic planning all day, but I think we'll be getting close to wrapping up. Any final thoughts? Either words of wisdom, maybe in terms of other councils doing their strategic planning, or anything that you hope for in final wisdom for strategic planning for our council?
Yeah, I would say go into it with an open mind. Obviously, you have your priorities, you have your things you want to see, but I think the best thing to do is to go into it with an open mind. Go into it, being open to understanding what administration's realities are, but also, hearing what other people have heard from other people in your community, because they've heard different things from other people in their community, your community. So be open to hearing that as well and understanding, hey, we could be going down the same path. There's just different ways to get there. So let's figure out a way. I also think that a community's greatest strength isn't necessarily in the plan that they build, but it's in the people. And it's in, the vision is here, but the people are the ones that are executing the vision, and they're the ones who are feeling it. They're the ones who are living it, and they're the ones who are understanding it. So the plan is just the tool that kind of unleashes everything else. So lean into your people.
Couldn't have said it better myself. I wholeheartedly agree. So thanks so much for being here in discussions with us today, Catherine. Where can people find out more information?
Yeah, for sure. So if you want to follow along with my campaign, you can follow me on Instagram at Cat for Beaumont. And on Facebook, you can find me at Catherine McCook for Beaumont. My website is mccookformayor.ca. And if you'd like some leadership coaching and you want to go down that path, you can follow my business, theelanproject.com.
Okay, perfect. Thanks so much. I've really enjoyed our conversation today. And thank you to all of our viewers on Strategy and Culture Conversations. We'll see you next time.
Thank you so much for having me. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much for joining us for today's episode of Strategy and Culture Conversations. If you found our discussion valuable, be sure to leave a review to grow our community and sign up for our newsletter at strategyandculture.ca to stay in the loop. Cheers to courageous leadership. I'll see you next time.